Part 3. Part A is going to go over my educational history. My educational journey steered me into the profession of teaching. However, I was only sure of it until after graduating. There were individuals who influenced this decision and path. The first one is my mother. She is a primary teacher and teaches English and Arabic. From a young age, I used to watch my mother make lesson plans and was so fascinated with her dedication to her students and job, even outside the classroom. I remember asking so many questions, and the main one being, why are you teaching that? Her response was always along the lines of, because that's what the school wants us to teach, and because it's important. With this perspective, I used to pretend I was a teacher, playing classrooms with my younger sisters and studying out a lesson plan. This changed my perspective on teachers because I just thought that they only did whatever was asked of them in the classroom, and I didn't see outside of the classroom and their dedication to their work. And it gave me a new appreciation for teachers. Another individual who influenced my thinking of the aims of education was my Year 4 teacher. Her classroom was one where I believed that I felt most secure, safe, and included, and her name was Mrs. Cabrera. She ran the classroom as though it was a community, where everyone's opinions, feelings, and learning experiences were shared and developed together in order to create a functioning, structured, open learning environment. I believe this made me feel secure as I saw it as an environment where we could express ourselves individually, but still be able to meet the requirements of the curriculum, making it efficient. I believe that this shaped my idea of the aims of education, which was to create a safe learning environment in the best interest of the child. My personal experiences with school were a heavy mix of good and bad. In the years of 7 to 9, I was a very dedicated student in terms of studying. My mother did have high expectations with grades, so I made it my aim to achieve outstanding marks. However, I remember never understanding the purpose of what I learned, and I was not enjoying it at all. Though I did get great marks, I always felt a bit slow and less advanced from my peers. This was because they understood the content immediately, whereas I had to add in extra hours to try and retain information. I thought the class was going at a fast pace, and it somewhat made me feel excluded. Because of this, I tried finding out what helped me learn best, and tried to incorporate it into my own studying. I realized that the one class where I was learning information fast was in fact health. The teacher incorporated a lot of mind maps and minimized the use of PowerPoints, so I tried to incorporate it into my study notes because it was how I learned best. In addition to this, I found out that palm cards were also a very efficient way for me to study. His classes were also very interactive, and I want to apply that into my own teaching method. I want to be able to create a classroom that is interactive and where students' opinions can matter. My decision to be a teacher was swayed by both society standards and my own culture. As I reached Year 12, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. However, society was turning towards a more feminist culture where the teaching profession and other caring professions were seen as weak, traditional roles, and the emphasis to enter powerful careers caused me to rethink my own decision. In addition, my own family wanted me to choose a career that had a good pay. So I changed to a career of a psychologist, and I applied at Macquarie. I did receive the acceptance and was set on going. However, by graduation, my homeroom teacher told me that the passion and glow he saw when I wanted to be a teacher was not evident when I talked about being a psychologist. So therefore, I believed that society's opinions and my family's own opinions should not matter in what career I choose, as long as I am happy and believe that what I am doing will be good for myself. It also caused me to question the aims of education. Do we just want to be whatever society wants us to be? Are some careers better than the other? Going into university, I had a very general view about education. I saw it more as a system that follows a curriculum, and that was about it. However, as I went through this semester, I learned that there are different philosophies, different learning patterns, different even learning strategies, learning practices, and other things. I learned about the Finnish system, and it really caused me to question and review my aims of education. So then that leads me to my next statement, part B, which is philosophy statement. My philosophy statement is that I believe that a classroom is a community in which each student should be able to express themselves individually, free of discrimination or judgment, while still being able to learn and grow their perspectives from others' opinions, beliefs, and experiences. I believe that as a teacher, I should create an interactive learning environment, however still being able to guide the students to function in a community. So where to begin? I believe that the aim of education is far more than the stereotypical view that we teach and guide students to go to university and achieve a valued job. I believe as educators that our prime aim is to the health and well-being of the student first, to create and foster an environment which is safe and secure. Therefore, I agree with the first of the 7 aims that Kingsley has established, as well as the rest that follows, and no nothing's extra aim, happiness. I disagree with Plato's aim of putting society before the individual, and that the value of working with one's mind is far more superior than working with one's body. My perception is that rather than aiming to educate individuals based on the values of society, it forms on the basis of no-nothing's views. The educators and society as a whole should value and nurture each and every interest and career choice of the student, whether it be one of the mind or of the body. I stand with Nodding's views that children will ultimately fail in schools because they are forced to do work they hate and are deprived of work they might love. Because of this, I aim to create a classroom where my students can discover and test what they love, and be able to apply this into their academic studies and future careers. This can be done by creating an interactive classroom experience where discussions, questions, and suggestions are being made. As well as this, I would like the students to help me understand what helps them learn best by testing out various learning strategies, for example PowerPoints, mind maps, videos, activities, and even palm cards. This philosophy then leads me to question the aims and foundations of the curriculum. In Article 13 of the Convention of the Rights of the Child, it states that the child shall have the right to freedom of expression. This right shall include freedom to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas of all kinds. I firmly stand by this policy as I think that each student is unique and should have their own voice in the community, and to seek whatever information they want to acquire. Although I understand the curriculum to limit this policy to a certain extent, Brad Gobby and Rebecca Walker emphasize on the idea that education and what we learn has been formed on the basis of the norm of both sciences and society. What we teach and what we learn have already been given to us by high political power in the form of a curriculum, limiting us as teachers and as students. As a teacher, I want to be able to teach my students on topics that interest them, as well as on topics necessary for their involvement in society. I believe that the curriculum should become more flexible in the perspectives of what is normal and abnormal. While I do believe that the majority of the content in the curriculum is necessary, my concern lies more on the basis of the emphasis and value they place on certain subjects in comparison to others. I want to create a learning environment where my students believe that whatever their interests lie is just as significant as the others. Therefore, the curriculum should contain content on physical matters and matters of the mind. For example, agriculture, beauty industry, sports, lawyer, and much more. I believe that as a teacher, I am obliged to not only act morally and ethically towards my students, but to educate them to do so as well. In Dwayne Hubner's article, Teaching as a Moral Activity, he claims that teachers are models and examples for students on how to act. As a teacher, to be ethical means to conduct oneself in a professional manner, to allow students to understand that there is an authority and a set of rules that must be followed. However, I also believe that as a teacher, I should be able to be empathetic and reasonable, giving the students opportunities to express their feelings in order to avoid misunderstandings. Hubner suggests that the best way to achieve this is for teachers to overcome the barrier of suppressing their own feelings and instead be able to communicate and share their own with their students. I would love to do this in order to showcase to my students that it is fine to be overwhelmed and that my classroom is a safe environment where they can feel safe to express themselves. The Australian Professional Standards for Teachers has a policy which states that maintaining student safety is a requirement for teachers. I would like to achieve this by allowing my students to participate in rulemaking, voicing out any suggestions they have to make the environment more safe and for them to feel more comfortable, creating a democratic environment where everyone has a say. Now it leads me to imagine my future self. I imagine my future professional self in numerous ways. First of all, I expect to be open-minded. I want to be able to look at my students individually as persons rather than as people. I want to believe that I will be able to diminish stereotypes and have all my students on a clean slate. I also imagine my future self being passionate and energetic to teach a classroom, while still being able to maintain a structured classroom. So therefore, this presentation went through what I believe is important as a teacher, and that is to ensure that I create a classroom which fosters a community where students can learn from each other and grow with each other's opinions and values, but still being able to be their individual selves. Thank you. Here are the resources. And